You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we are finally here. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Robyn Leano, alongside Tom Callahan. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every single day. We are free and available everywhere you get your shows. It is October 8th, live show, inaugural opening night. Tom, we are finally here, getting ready to talk some meaningful Utah Hockey Club action tonight.
I can't believe we made it, but we made it. It is time. I watched the games in Europe, Devils Sabres. I watched that. I watched Seattle playing a little bit earlier. There was a 4:30 Eastern time face-off for the Kraken as they got things underway. So I was trying to pay attention to that, but trying to get ready for this. This is a big moment, Robyn, and an exciting moment for the NHL, for hockey fans, for Utah, for Salt Lake City. So many layers here. It's just incredible, and I'm really excited for tonight.
It's gonna be an absolutely great night. And what we're here to do, we're getting you everything you need to know heading into the game, whether you're heading down to the Delta Center as you're watching us right now, or whether you're going to somewhere else in downtown Salt Lake City, whether you're in the comfort of your own home, wherever you might be, we are getting you guys ready for this game. Everything you need to know. To kind of start things off, Tom, let's get right into kind of some of the things we might have missed before going in today. And that is first and foremost, breaking down that final roster. We got the final roster. It finally got revealed. Anything from there that really surprised you on the picks that were made and who got in there, or what didn't surprise you?
You know what? Not a lot of surprises for me. For folks who may not know, Ingram and Vejmelka, the goaltenders, no surprise there. The defensemen, pretty much what we expected. Valimaki, Kesselring, Cole, Bortuzzo, Durzi, Kolyachonok is on there. And then, of course, Mikhail Sergachev. That's the big names. And the forwards, Schmaltz, Keller, Gunther, Kerfoot, McBain, Hayton, Liam O'Brien, let's see, Carcone, Yamamoto, Michelli, Krause, Stenlund, Doan, and Logan Cooley. So that is your opening night roster. Surprises on there? You know what? I'm kind of wondering maybe a little bit for myself if when they signed Yamamoto and they said, 1 year, 2-way deal with him, I kind of wondered if that meant that Doan wasn't with the team out of camp. But perhaps there's going to be still some interplay between those two here in the first couple of games. We'll see who gets in tonight. We won't know scratches just yet. Injuries, I know, are a reason why some of those guys are still here. We've talked about that. But honestly, I don't think there's any big surprises on this roster for me. It kind of played out, I think, the way we thought it would, and which is just totally fine.
Yeah, no, totally fine. I feel like And it really goes into taking a look at what we've been talking about going into this season, all season long, and hyping up the players that we knew were going to make it, and also grounding everyone and saying, all right, we already know that these rookies aren't going to be here. They're going to go back to juniors. We're going to get these players here. That's kind of how it all works, Rock, and especially for a team like Utah, where they are coming into a spot where they're about to be a competitive team, and most of the core is already put in place. It's just finding those final little bits and who's going to be who might make those like depth pieces. But at the end of the day, as the point we're trying to make, not very many surprises. Actually, I'm really glad to see both Doan and Yamamoto in there. We'll definitely see maybe they move things around. Maybe there'll be some changes once Nick Bjugstad comes back from his injury. I think it's probably going to be another month until Bjugstad comes back. But I like this. I like the decisions they made.
I think too, some of the things we talked about, they kept depth options pretty much all over the map. And you mentioned those injuries, Bukestad, Marino, those are two big names that are going to be out for a while. So in the meantime, that means it's next man up. That means, okay, maybe we weren't planning on, putting you, Jimmy Smith, in this spot, but now you got a chance. So if guys move up a spot or two spots, or the domino effect, right? The guy in front of you moves up, you move up. So who's going to step up? And that is a big question for me, not only in game one, but I think all season long. Really, to me, it is going to be about who are the players taking the most strides forward to be able to lead this team to the playoffs in the next 2 or 3 seasons.
Absolutely. And it's going to be fun to watch all of that. This is the first season in Utah. There's going to be some differences too, right? Maybe that change of pace is going to have some players might just all of a sudden come out the gates like, whoa, where did this player come from?
I think so. Is it prediction time? Or are we going to say who we think is going to come out like the shot out of a cannon? Just to play off Jet Chandler asking if the UHC has any team songs or hyped like the Blue Jackets with the cannon. By the way, that cannon is the scariest thing in the world when you're not ready for it. You know what? Just kind of as I look back over this roster, I think the players, and we've talked about the guys who I think have the potential to surprise. I really wonder if what we've seen out of Dursey already doesn't vastly improve. If he and Sergachev can play well together, I expect Sergachev will be up there for the lead in points on this team. But I wonder, is Utah going to have 2 defensemen who break the 60-point barrier this year? Maybe even 70 points. It could happen with the 2 of them. To me, that would be a huge surprise. I don't think that is something I'm going to lay money on. But man, now that, you start thinking about these things and you start getting excited about the offensive potential, Robyn, what could we see there? That could be amazing.
It really could be. And let's keep this conversation going in just a little bit, though, Tom. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the other roster decisions made, some leadership decisions. Continue to get ready for Utah versus Chicago Blackhawks as we get ready. It's going to be tonight at 8 p.m. in Salt Lake City at the Delta Center. So if you're on your way over there, let us know how the vibes are. Again, we're right here. We're going to be here for the next hour or so. Let us know how things go. But we're going to keep things going right here on Locked On Utah Hockey Club. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season big with a return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get in a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And listeners of this podcast will be able to take a look at what kind of bets are available for Utah hockey tonight. Well, it'll be coming later in the show, but that's all on FanDuel.com. Once again, America's #1 sportsbook. So, Tom, let's keep things going on this show. We're getting ready to talk a little bit more about what's happening in this for this roster and some of the decisions being made. I want to get on this really quick too. And it shows up on a little slide if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching the after recorded version on our audio, you can't see it. But let's talk a little bit about Lawson Crouse. As of this morning, actually, Lawson Crouse is named the quote associate captain. Multiple different names made for the person who wears the A in this case, but Lawson Crouse named associate captain for the Utah Hockey Club going into this season. Your thoughts?
Well, Robyn, I pointed this out for you. This is yet another word associated with A. So over the years, it's been assistant captain. Now we have associate captain. It's been alternate captain. So look, you're not, whatever you call the A, they're an A, right?
They're
also a captain. Also captain. There you go. There's another one.
Also,
so also
there is one thing I do want to add about this, and I was reading a little bit about it. I was kind of like, hearing some of the fellow reporters who were at morning skate this morning, in Salt Lake, and I think the understanding here, Tom, is that associate captain, it actually not like the alternate captains that are also on the team. It's kind of like that next step up. So it still is the A. At the end of the day, he's still wearing the same letter as the alternate captains. But essentially, it's like if it's like Keller's unavailable, he's like the next man up. Like number two.
And I think that, Robyn, what you're saying echoes what came out of the locker room this week in hearing a lot of the players talk about, that A being pinned on and even actually Keller had great things to say, just saying, and a lot of the comments seem to be this: great teammate, but better person. And I think you cannot ask for more in a leader. And I agree with that. Having been around Lawson Krause when I was in Tucson and watching him come up in the American Hockey League, I think that's absolutely true. And I think that when you have that kind of leadership at the front of your room, that means that's a good culture that's in place. That is something you can build around. And so, and again, the relationship he and Keller have built over the years is tremendous. And I think that that's going to also help this team go a long way in the trying times.
A lot of that goes into the discussion we've been having all season long, right? All off season long, I should say, on that debate we were having. Who should be the captain? We were saying, hey, there's no rush, but it could be one of those two players. Really, I didn't really see much of outside of those two players wearing the C. And if it goes back and forth like that, it really shows to you how good the leadership crew is, and B, just the fact that we're confident in this team. That we're confident in this team, no matter who wears the C, who wears the A, and that they both are technically they're both deserving of wearing the C. It's just that only one could. The second just gets also an elevated title, just right there.
And I said this before in a previous show, you know who your leaders are in the room. Guys who step up on a regular basis, guys who either speak up or lead by example or both. Everyone in that room knows who the leaders are. Yes, it's nice for the viewing public to have a C or an A to identify who that person is. And yes, it's necessary on the ice. But within the room, the guys know. And I think that, this is, I don't want to say it was a formality. It's never a formality. You have to earn everything every single year, right? Every year you come back into camp, you have to show that you can continue to be a leader. And I think that that's what this team has. And transitioning from Arizona to Utah is a difficult transition. There's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be, and it's great to hear the guys telling stories about how they moved in and their neighbors are coming over with welcome gifts and they feel really welcome by the neighborhood. And by the way, Salt Lake, great job as a community welcoming these guys in. I think that was fantastic to hear those stories, but there's still growing pains. It's still a new city and you've got to learn it really fast. You've got to figure out where you're going, what you're doing. How do you even get to the rink? How long does that drive take? What happens when there's an accident? You've got to go a different way. Like there's so many things that we don't think about that these players have to navigate. So anytime you can have someone who's able to help you take the reins and just take that little bit off your plate, make it a little bit easier because they're able to lead you in the right direction and make sure everybody's on the same page, it's a huge plus.
It really is a huge plus. And again, I'm just glad that these decisions were made. And you made a good point about that transition too, because you take a look at that and having a leadership that's able to kind of help navigate all the younger guys through that or all the massive change, even though it's a change for Krause and Keller too. Like, hey, maybe like they're living in Park City. There's a practice at the Olympic Circle. Like how, where does how does that fit in? Plus, again, the game at the Delta Center. So that's all over the place in the greater Salt Lake area, even though Park City is a little bit outside of that. But yeah, you made some really good points about that. I feel like that was a really important thing to be added too.
And for this Utah Hockey Club team, I think you look at it, it comes from the top down, right? I mean, the culture, and now it's different ownership. And I'm sure
Yes.
we will see in the next 2 to 3 seasons, you're going to slowly see Ryan Smith's stamp emerge on this team. But right now, you have the Armstrong / Torney stamp that's been there for the last couple of years. And I think has been leading this team in the right direction, despite all the distractions, despite everything they've been going through. They have built this culture through drafting, developing, and appropriately signing free agents. I know I mentioned the Seattle game earlier, which started off today's portion of the NHL schedule, which is really being treated as opening night. But you think about Montour going to Seattle after winning a Stanley Cup, getting a huge payday to go to the Kraken. Utah probably could have shelled out the money. At the end of the day, they don't bring him in. That's not a minus in my book. I think you look at what he is, what you already had defensively, and you say to yourself, you know what? That's not something we need to do. We don't need to spend that. We don't need to make that splash. We're comfortable where we are. And I think that culture is what's going to enable Utah to grow on and off the ice and get better and better.
It's all about it really is all about growing from that bottom up, not having to bring in all those big names. And again, they did bring in some big names like Sergachev and whatnot. But take a look at, again, as one of the first official big moves in terms of signing, because that's, I'm going to say, because trading versus signing, different thing here. But when we talked about the Gunther contract and getting that big deal out there, that kind of really just shows that is the direction that this team wants to go in as they're building towards becoming a competitive team, which, Tom, we will discuss in a little bit. Being a competitive team, where will this team finish within the Central Division? We'll talk about the Central Division and where we think just about everybody in the Central is going to fit in right after this.
And today's show is brought to you in part by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on our podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
So before we get into tonight's game, Tom, let's get into some little bit of some season talk. As the Central Division, we talked about it. We've been hyping up the Central Division and how much of a strong division this is going to be all off season long. But we never, from my memory, made any official picks from top to bottom, from 1 to 8, where we're all going to fit. We're going to do that now because, hey, why not?
I hate doing that, but okay. Because all it ever is bulletin board for people to come back at me later and tell me how wrong I was.
But you know what? That's
okay.
The fun part. That's the fun part.
It's okay. That's fine. Do you want to start bottom up or do you want to go top to bottom?
Let's go bottom up. I feel like that's I feel like I kind of like that's where things can get interesting because bottom is a little bit easy, like a little bit easier to navigate. There still might be some surprises, but a little bit easier to navigate.
Okay, I'll start. I think Chicago, tonight's opponent, is the bottom dweller in the Central.
Yeah, I agree. They have gotten better. They picked up some big names. Connor Bedard's going into his second year, but I don't think that's enough. As we'll show this showcase a little bit later, Central Division, also the rest of the Central Division also just got that much stronger. So, like I said, they're going to look better this year. They're going to be a better team than last, but they're still not going to get out of that bottom spot in the Central Division. It's just not going to happen.
I might surprise some people with this pick, but I think the Minnesota Wild are going to be in 7th. They're still in cap jail. They still have a lot of problems. They've been trying to improve around it. They've done a good job of maneuvering, but I still don't know why Billy Guerin bought those contracts out. I still don't know, but this is their last year of basically cap hell. After this, their penalty is significantly reduced. But this year, we're talking $14 million in cap recapture penalties. So I don't know how they get past it.
I think so far, you and I agreeing so far. Minnesota has shown to be actually there has a wide variation on where they might finish on a lot of different people's predictions. Some people have them finishing 7th, some people have them finishing 5th, which is an interesting. I'm on towards the bottom end. I think the rest of the division is, and similar to what I was saying about the Blackhawks, the rest of this team is the rest of the division is just getting better. And it's hard to compete with, especially with all the points that you made. It's just you got to deal with all that contract situation. They've
got one more year to be sellers. At the deadline, they're going to sell just because of where they are with the contract situation. Yeah. They're not going to be there in the end. So
and I don't think it won't last long. Again, I think there's a difference between a little bit of a difference between a retooling team and a rebuilding team.
Yes, I agree. So. All right, number 6, St. Louis.
Yes. I was like, see, here's the thing. I feel like 6 and 5, you can easily move between St. Louis and Utah in this case. I feel like those two are going to be so incredibly close. So it's a little bit of a spoiler. What I'm going to say is it's going to be flipped one or the other. In this case, I'm going to say it's Utah at number 6, but not by a lot. Utah's going to have a great year. Don't get me wrong.
Certainly possible. Utah could be at number 6. Here's the only reason why, Robyn, I think St. Louis ends up at number 6 as opposed to number 5. And I think Utah is better than that, even though I think Utah's not going to have a great start to the season. They'll win tonight, by the way. But St. Louis has mercurial goaltending. They live by the Binnington, die by the Binnington.
Fair.
And if he is spectacular, they're going to be just fine. And if he is having issues or if he's, not able to rein it in, they're not going to be going all that well. And so I look at St. Louis and I just don't know if Binnington has what it takes to get them back to the playoffs in that capacity. I think I like Utah's goaltending way better, even though Jordan Binnington's a Stanley Cup champion. And when he's on a top 10 goaltender in this league, I just think at the end of the day, that's your most important position. He's just too up and down for me to have that kind of faith.
And honestly, I think that's a really fair point to make on all of that. And again, this is kind of like taken away from my own point, but I guess if you want to put it in there, it can definitely factor in if you really want to look at a little bit of history in there. Clayton Keller has St. Louis's number anytime he goes and visits, and anyone knows Clayton Keller is originally from the St. Louis metro area. If you guys are new to this fandom, he's from a little bit outside of St. Louis.
Guys like to show up against the hometown.
Traditionally, yeah. It's always fun. I love it when that happens. It's a really fun time to really see what whenever Clayton Keller shows up. But again, I think to that point though, it really is again a lot about that consistency. And you're right. I'm a little bit concerned about Utah's consistency. I'm not convinced on a lot of different factors. Despite what I was saying is this team's gotten so much better. It's gotten significantly better. But I just don't think it will be enough. I really do think, Tom, it will be a difference of like 2-3 points between 5 and 6. It's an incredibly close to me. But for me, it's 6 Utah and then 5 at St. Louis.
So we know our out of the playoff teams. We know our in the playoff teams. So Robyn, I think it's your turn to lead. Who is your number 4 team in the wild card spot?
Number 4, I have Winnipeg. I feel like this team it's been getting better, but at the same time, I mean, again, this is me just comparing to the remainder of the teams. That top 3 is kind of like almost like an untouchable to me. It's like, God, this team, the top 3 teams in this division they're going to be a fight. Like, you're going to have to put your best out to go against the top 3 in this division. Winnipeg is almost there. They're just not quite. I do like Connor Hellebuyck still, and I still think he's one of the best goaltenders. I just don't think they're outside of that. It's enough to break into the top 3.
So I disagree. I think Dallas is my number 4. I think that the Stars what makes them a playoff team is they are balanced. They, however, are going to have to rely on some bounce back seasons from some guys this year, which is always a gamble. But I think that the Robertsons, Rupe Hintzes of the world have to have better years than they did last year. I don't think they did enough. And Dallas still made a pretty nice little run into the playoffs. But so if they're not playing at their best, if that whole team's not firing on all cylinders, that's a tough one. So I'm gonna have to watch Dallas to see. Ottinger bails them out a lot. Excellent goaltender, top 10 goaltender. I really like him, but I think that the inconsistency is what kills the Stars. They do get into the playoffs just because they are better than the other teams we've already mentioned, but I think Dallas is 4.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's a fair point. And I think, and I do think personally, Tom, that the loss of a guy like Joe Pavelski, despite his age, is going to factor in there.
You're still mourning, aren't you?
Look, I'm always going to. But for real though, Joe Pavelski has shown for some, I don't know, he defied Father Time. He was able to consistently be one of the better players in the team throughout even the latter part before he decided to retire this last off season. Losing him certainly is going to make a difference. But I still think that Dallas has what it takes. I still have them at number 3, though.
Okay.
Because the other 2 are just that much better.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with you again, and I'm going to tell you that Colorado's number 3. So Colorado has 2 of the best players on the planet, inarguably. Nathan MacKinnon, when Nathan MacKinnon wants to be Nathan MacKinnon, is pretty much unstoppable. Cale Makar is a beast. Probably my favorite NHL defenseman just to watch. Just from a pure skills, ability, vision. I don't think there's a better defenseman in the game than Cale Makar. Just generational talent on D. I'm still not convinced that Colorado, again, it's a consistency issue. I'm still not convinced they have goaltending figured out, which I think is a very important position. Will the Avalanche have to outscore teams on certain nights to win? Yes. Can they? Absolutely. Teams that are worse than them, they will win game 6-5. But until the Avalanche go back to playing, and they haven't shown me they're capable of it the last couple of years, the style of puck possession hockey on a consistent basis that won them a Stanley Cup and made Philip Grubauer a lot of money, who I thought was a supremely average goaltender on a way above average team. Their possession metrics have not been what they've been in previous years. They need to be better. And until they show me that they are, I'm not picking them higher than 3rd because they give up too much. They don't have the puck enough. They have the ability to overpower and score, but I don't think they're there.
It's interesting because I think given, and then Tom, because I showed you my my bet slip on FanDuel on all my division winners. Colorado is my division winner. Yeah, I have them as my number 1, all because I just think that the talent is there, and I think for all the reasons you said, Cale Makar, easily, definitely one of, if not the best blue liner in the league right now. especially at his age too. Still a very, very young player. I think Colorado's still going to finish at the top. And again, it's not to say that Nashville, who my number 2, isn't there. Honestly, I think Nashville has what it takes. And to me, I think that's also going to be a close battle. That 5 and 6 spot, as I mentioned earlier, that between Utah and St. Louis is going to be a similarly close battle between that 1 and 2 spot between the Nashville Predators and the Colorado Avalanche.
So my 1 and 2 are Winnipeg and Nashville. I have Winnipeg in second because I will say it again. Winnipeg allowed the fewest goals in the National Hockey League last year. 199 goals against. They were the best defensive team in hockey. Defense wins championships, or at least it gets you into the playoffs. At the end of the day, is Winnipeg built to win in the playoffs? I honestly don't know. I haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying that they're one of those teams that I think will do real well in the regular season and then just isn't strong enough to advance. So I think they can be a regular season threat to absolutely everybody. When the chips are down in the postseason, it gets tougher, it gets more physical. I don't think Winnipeg, as constructed, is going to make a deep run, but I think they're going to finish second. And that means that the newly reconstructed Nashville Predators are my number 1. I like the additions they made. I think they did a really nice job. They also have a world-class defenseman in Roman Josi. Adding Stamkos does not hurt that team. I think they've also done a little addition by subtraction with getting rid of Johansson and Duchesne over the last couple of years. But the X factor here is people are really about to find out how good UC Saros is. And I think he has been grossly underestimated by a lot of the National Hockey League. He is exceptional. And the rest of the league is about to find that out.
It certainly will be. I'm excited to see what the entire Central Division has to give us. But I will end this conversation with this. Kind of go back a little bit. We talked about kind of that top half versus low half. You said playoff teams versus non-playoff teams. I kind of want to go back on that a little bit, Tom. So are you saying the Central Division is going to be a 4-team playoff division, or are they going to be a 5?
No, I think they'll be 5. I think that's why Utah's got a chance to make it. Because if I look at the Pacific just real fast, my potential playoff teams there, obviously Edmonton,
yes,
Vegas, Vancouver, LA.
I don't think LA had I'm not convinced with LA.
LA just seems to find ways to win though. And that was a weird thing about them last year. Vancouver, I want to see who Vancouver is. Is Vancouver a top 2 team in that division, or are they swimming around the 4, 5, 6? We're going to find out this year. Also, how healthy is Thatcher Demko? We're going to find out. Vegas, I think, is still pretty good. I don't think they're a push all the way to the Cup final team anymore. But LA is the mystery meat for me. LA could be the team that gets beaten out there. I don't know. We'll see. But if there is a swing world for the Central, I think that's why.
And that makes sense. But I just wanted to clear that up, make sure we're on the same page here. The Central Division, because of how strong they are, it seems that they're going to be a 5-team, a 5-team playoff division. What we're going to do though is we're going to come right back. We are going to take just a very, very short break. We are going to get to tonight's game preview: Utah Hockey Club versus Chicago Blackhawks. That's happening tonight at 8 p.m. at the Delta Center. So be sure to stay tuned right here on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Once again, welcome to everyone to Locked On Utah Hockey Club. I'm Robyn Leano alongside Tom Callahan. We're getting into tonight's game now. Utah Hockey Club versus Chicago Blackhawks tonight at 8 p.m., Tom, in Salt Lake City. The first ever NHL regular season game in Salt Lake City. I think all the excitement is here, and we're getting closer and closer. Utah versus Chicago. Your first impressions, your first emotions on as we get closer and closer.
Well, number one, you can feel it. You can feel the energy. You can feel there's a pulse. You just around the hockey world, but certainly right around the Delta Center. I mean, it's a carnival-like atmosphere. It's energy. It's excitement. It's people who have a curiosity factor about what's going on. I saw one of the fans in our YouTube chat earlier saying, I'm going down for the concert with Shabuzi, and then I'm going to go enjoy the game. Awesome. I'm so excited for that. The NHL is doing live broadcasting there, kind of like College Game Day. ESPN is on location doing essentially the College Game Day for the NHL. I saw PK Subban, Mark Messier was there, along with Steve Levy. So, they're having a good time, and the fans are already there. And it's just going to be a circus in the most fun way. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that that's going to be an absolute blast. And you know what, to me, it's about time. I feel like this game has been coming for 12 years. It just feels like it's taken so long to get here, but it now blink of an eye.
Yeah, it felt like it came so fast, even though like it's amazing how time works in this case. But what about the matchup between these two teams? A quick little view on the matchup. We gave you our season predictions, right? We talked our season predictions. We have Chicago at the bottom of the Central Division. How much is that going to factor in going into tonight's game?
So, number one, Chicago has one of the most dynamic players in the league, bar none. Last year's Rookie of the Year. You can't get much better than Connor Bedard. So, for an electricity factor, that's a great name to have. They have made some adjustments to the roster. One place they haven't improved as much as I would have wanted Chicago to improve is in net. They have Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom. Soderblom struggled so bad last year. It was really bad. And for most Hawks goalies, it was really bad last year. Defensively, they were porous. They've got good leadership in Nick Foligno. I like him as a player. Some of the names they have on this team are good players. Seth Jones is a very good defenseman. So Alec Martinez is there, won a Stanley Cup, veteran defenseman. But I don't see, when I look at this top to bottom, names like Teravainen and Athanasiou and Martinez and Donato and Murphy don't scare me. They don't worry me. This team is NHL, but it is not better than a lot of lineups. Now, Columbus, what the Blue Jackets are going through is unfortunate. And by the way, the fact that a lot of teams, I think all teams are probably going to do the 13-second moment of silence for Johnny Gaudreau and his brother before the game. I think that's wonderful. And that aside, even before that tragedy, that was my worst team in the league. But if it wasn't for them, Chicago's right there fighting for that title along with San Jose and Anaheim, I think.
It certainly will be at that point. But as you mentioned, though, I feel like there still will be that buzz around Connor Bedard, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The buzz around Connor Bedard is going to last for quite a bit. I mean, that's a generational talent right there. He's gonna factor into the game, and don't be surprised if, like, maybe if you were a completely new Utah hockey fan, maybe you haven't followed the NHL before, you had no reason to up until now. If you see the guy in red skate going just buzzing like a bee on the ice, that's Connor Bedard.
Just incredibly talented, so smart with the puck, very good vision. You're going to see him make plays to give himself space when it looks like he has none. One of his world-class features is the way he's able to separate. And what I mean by that, if you're going to the game tonight or you're going to watch it on TV or stream it or however you're taking it in, when Bedard has the puck, he's going to be able to walk it into the offensive zone. Watch where he goes and then how he changes his pace and his direction to then automatically open up another couple of feet for himself that were not there a second before. But he sees the game a little bit faster and a little further ahead than most NHL players. And by doing that, he's able to put himself in space and give himself options. He can cut, he can drive, he can distribute. And that is why he is elite.
And we'll certainly, and again, it's still going to make a huge factor. I'm like, it's going to be there for a while.
He can shoot too. He can shoot.
Phenomenal shot. A phenomenal shot. It's a scary shot. If you ever seen those shots, it's amazing. It really is. And again, I kind of want to set some expectations to everyone. Like he's gonna he's gonna make a factor out there. I think you and I already still had the thought is Utah's still gonna win this game, but it's not gonna be without a little bit of some pushback from Connor Bedard. But
go ahead.
What we're going to do, Tom, is I want to turn to you for a little bit after a quick break. We're going to get into some player audio. We are going to get to picks of the game, some keys to the game, and then make our predictions. Who is going to win tonight? What's the score going to be? We're going to get to all of that right after this.
And this episode is brought to you in part by Gametime. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Gametime app. I have it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. They've got a bunch of new features on there, but one of the things I love about Gametime, and I always try to tell people, this is kind of like right off the top. You need to fiddle with the settings. Well, really only one setting, all-in pricing. By default, it's not on when you download the app. So if you toggle on all-in pricing, you will then see the seats for the show, the concert, the play, the musical, whatever you want to go see, with what the price is for how many seats out the door. This is what you're paying. And I love that. Just tell me what I owe you for those tickets. And Gametime does some great things. They have Gametime picks, makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier, because what they do is they filter out the fluff and it shows you the incredible deals, the great deals on the great seats. So you don't have to scroll through everything that's on there. They will highlight the stuff for you, which is fantastic. So, you know what? Pick any live event that's upcoming, maybe even tonight's game. If you're watching this live and you're on your way down there, you can customize things. And the more you kind of hone in on that, the better it is, the easier it is for the app to find what you're looking for. You can preview the seats. There are seat previews on there, so you know what you're looking at, which is important in the Delta Center. And they've got a low price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all of that. So it's absolutely fantastic. Curating it makes it even easier to save on sports, concerts, comedy theater, and more. So the low price guarantee, if it's not the lowest price, Gametime gives you 100% of the difference in credit. That's fantastic. Plus, your purchase is coverage with the most flexible customer service policy in the industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account, log in, and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, locked on NHL, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time.
So let's keep going, previewing Utah versus Chicago Blackhawks tonight at 8 p.m. local time. Tom, let's get to some keys to the game and some player audio. I know you have some. We're able to get some clips from morning skate, from a press conference with Ryan Smith. A lot of different audio we got here. So I'm gonna let you take the floor here and kind of help set up the fans for what to expect. What we're going to be hearing.
Absolutely. So I do want to start out with Ryan Smith. A couple of quotes from his press conference yesterday. And I think that, again, what had to happen to move an entire NHL franchise from Phoenix to Salt Lake City, for those who don't know, is just mind-boggling. And like I say, I've started up franchises before, and it's tough enough to start one up. Moving one is a different animal, but there's a lot of the same issues of a startup. As a matter of fact, all the same issues of a startup, plus transferring a bunch of stuff on top of it. So, you know what? Ryan Smith talked about putting everything together and putting together really the event that is opening night.
It's actually pretty simple. We're just trying to have a fun event that everyone in the community is going to remember. It's not more complicated than that. This is a moment. It speaks for itself. Everyone knows it's coming. We get to do it once. And so I think that it's just a pretty cool opportunity that, you know, we get a chance to host. I think from our team standpoint, they're probably going to be the ones who enjoy it the least. And so I hope all of them get a moment to kind of take it in and realize like what they've been able to create in a 5.5 month period, which is pretty crazy.
to be able to set it up to have, I'll just say, the party. It is the party. It's incredible, Robyn, that we've been chronicling this the whole time. It's mind-blowing how this took place.
It is mind-blowing because a lot of people, like, again, there are some people who have been kind of downplaying a little bit, kind of trying to put down some of Utah and be like, hey, they don't have a real team name. They don't have this. They don't have that. Let's remember, everybody, that this is the quickest turnaround for a team, for a quote relocated team from what we did expect to relocate to completely start up a new franchise, new ownership, new identity, new everything except for the players in just this less than 6 month time span. That is incredible.
Yeah, and this, as a matter of fact, why don't you just go ahead and roll this next Ryan Smith clip? It speaks perfectly to that.
I mean, if we just go back to April 18th, where we literally walked into a hotel room in Scottsdale not knowing that we were going to go on the 17th, right? And told every player and person as part of the staff bigger than this, hey, we're Ryan and Ashley, and you've all been traded to Utah.
I mean, we're there on the 18th. We didn't know we were going on the 17th. And hi, everybody. I'm Ryan. This is Ashley. You've all been traded to Utah. That's wild.
It is wild. It just shows you. I know there are a lot of people out there who, again, these are, leftover Coyotes fans who are still upset about how all this went down. Some of them have speculated that, they knew this was going to happen months ago, and they just hid it behind closed doors. That did not happen. No, this was a spur of the moment. It just happened because, I mean, this is the hockey business. Things just sometimes just happen.
And I do want to say, Robyn, to the Coyotes fans that may still be here, may be interested in talking, and we are, talking about this. The league tried so hard. The league did not want to leave Phoenix. I speak as someone who is in the Coyotes organization for a couple of years. They did not want to leave. They still don't want to ignore Phoenix. They want to go back. It is a good market, but the conditions deteriorated. The arena setup, I'm not even going to say it was less than ideal. It just was unacceptable for an NHL team. Beautiful D1 college hockey facility for Arizona State. Unacceptable for an NHL franchise.
Really loud, really fun atmosphere.
Fantastic, but 5,000 seats is not sustainable.
It's not.
You need to sell 15,000 tickets. And so it just, there's a lot of things that just weren't there. So the NHL will be back. Hockey fans, it'll be back. You're always going to have hockey. And the league wanted them to stay, and I believe they exhausted pretty much everything they could. But when it became clear at the 11th hour that they weren't going to be able to stay, what else can you do?
What else? Yeah, you couldn't have done absolutely anything else at that point. But we're here now, and Utah's ready.
We are.
And they really have bought in, and I'm glad they have.
Yes, for sure. Do you want to get to keys to the game now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get to it.
All right, we'll jump right into keys to the game here. For me, my number one, over and above everything else, I think, is for this Utah Hockey Club to manage emotions, manage the energy, manage the excitement level. There can be a tendency for teams just in a regular home opener to come out firing the first 5-10 minutes. You throw everything you have, the adrenaline's pumping, the video, the pyro, the fans, everything's going crazy. There's nachos everywhere. And then you run out of gas, and you're just begging for the first intermission, holding on for that second 10 minutes. The road teams know this. And road teams, when they go into a building, they will say, what we have to do? We have to weather the storm. And that is exactly what they say. They have to weather the storm. We know it's coming. We know it's going to be in our face for 5 to 10 minutes. The energy is going to be insane. We have to get through that. We have to limit the damage, get through it. So for me, I think that it is about being able to take control of that. And again, now you go back to leadership, you go back to coaching and preparation for this. No, this is not everybody's first NHL game. These guys have played in openers before, but there's something special about tonight, right? So I thought that Andre Tourigny when asked about it at morning skate this morning, had a great line on what to expect for his team and how he's going to manage it.
Yeah, we had two. We had one on the ice, just say, hey, just what I said, enjoy the moment, soak it in, embrace the opportunity. That's great. And before the practice, we had a little chat in the room about managing distraction, managing emotion. Hockey is a sport of emotion. You need to have that emotion. You need to be frustrated. You need to be happy. Yeah, you fuel off your energy. I don't want to put a lid on our emotion, but at the same time, you need to control it. You cannot stay in your emotion. You need, whatever is the frustration or the good or the bad emotion, you just need to get out of it as quick as possible. But you need to embrace those. That was the spice who give taste of what we're doing. So we need to embrace it.
I love that line. That is the spice that gives taste to what we're doing. That's a great quote.
I love Bear. He's got some great quotes over the years, and there's just another one right there.
Chef Bear. Yes, Chef. There is a Chef Bear. There's a show about that. And it's based in Chicago. You know what? Kind of interesting to me to hear him say, embrace your emotion. It's going to be there. Don't ignore it. Don't tamp it down. Don't act like it's not there. Embrace it, but harness it and harness it properly. And I think, Robyn, that's a fantastic way to focus everybody.
It really is. And I think that's kind of what I think you should expect. I think because, sure, there is going to be all those emotions out there, and no doubt about it. And I can say this from experience from being on the other side, right? From being that last game in Arizona, right? All those emotions there, they had to manage and go through all that. This is, again, different level, but it's still there. You still have to manage that and still have to play through that and put out your best foot forward on the ice.
Absolutely. Do you want to get to the rest of the keys? Do you want to get the break in now, and then we'll come back? We'll finish up our keys to the game and then get to our picks.
Yeah, let's hit a quick break and we'll get to the remaining 2 keys of the game, as well as get to our FanDuel picks of the game. We'll get to all of that right after this. And I want to remind everyone once again, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get in the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view a live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even have to win that bet to get those $200 in bonus bets. And again, there's so many different things you can bet on. We'll share with you some possible bets for tonight's game if you're interested. Once again, that's on FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Tom, let's get to the remaining 2 keys of this game.
Well, so for me, defense. We've been talking about defense. I will continue talking about defense. Playoffs? No, I'm talking about defense. Robyn, it's just, this is it, right? This is what their whole season hinges on, success or failure on. And I'm not just talking the defensive core, but I am talking overall team defense. I'm talking shots allowed. I'm talking turnovers. I'm talking hits. I'm talking offensive zone possession time, because when you've got the puck in the other end, the other team can't score. And of course, the goaltending. All of that to me is defense. Yes, there are some interesting things, and I would call them concerns heading in. And number one of which, again, with Marino out, I even kind of changed my stance on whether or not we'd see Marino on a top pair or a 3-4 pair. But then he got hurt, and so we didn't get to see him on any pair. But you look at the top pairing now being Sergachev and Durzi, that has the chance to be either really, really good or really, really bad. And to me, communication is going to be the key, because they both want to jump. They both want to be involved. They both have an excellent offensive skill set, but they also both need to realize when the other guy goes, you both can't go. And it's on the forwards to make the read. That's where the center has to make that read and come back and play defense. Or if it happens to be the winger is alert on that side, to drop back and play defense. So, those are important things to me that this team needs to read and react. From what I saw in the preseason, they're not there yet. I'm a little worried about that. So when you lose coverage on a guy like Connor Bedard, the puck ends up in the back of your net.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a little concerned about it. But I will say I felt heartened by this little nugget coming out of morning skate. And I thought that this was pretty good. Jersey himself talking about the chemistry that he has had with Sergachev so far.
Yeah, I love Sergey. It was with Colsey for a bit. We had a lot of good chemistry. Me and Sergey, same thing. Tons of good chemistry. It's really important to have a deep pair where you can talk through things, focus on what we do well. We see something we don't like, we talk about it right away. And, next time we go into a play, we know exactly what to expect. If we can play faster than our opponents, it'll make it a lot easier. Learning each other's lingo, whether it's he wants me to say something in Russian or not, I'll do it. But it's, going back for pucks. If we're on the same page or defending on the rush, it makes it a, ton easier. And it's really important. I think we've had a great chemistry so far.
So I think he really just needs to learn yet and da. Yes and no. You're going to need those right away. But he's even offering to learn Russian. But he talked about, in the beginning, he was with Ian Cole, which I think was a great pairing idea because the veteran stay-at-home guy with the rushing attacking guy. That's what you and I talked about over the summer. But now Robyn, because obviously injuries have changed those things. So now what with defense? I ask you.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I feel like you have to put your best skilled players up, right? You have to be able to put who can work well together and who can, and what works for the moment. If you have to stay at home, by like we know Marino's not playing tonight. Since we know he's not playing tonight, you have to figure out a way to move things around. Marino's usually a top 4 guy, but all right. Next up is, again, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of it, Jersey Sergachev works. Like, it works in the moment for what you need. I'm not a fan of it all season long. I don't want to see it all season long, in my personal opinion. But if it does work, I'm not going to tell him to stop.
Yeah, exactly. There will be mistakes made, and you know that. And those are coachable moments. Those are teaching moments. Everybody screws up. So just when it happens, you want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think that's going to be the real important thing. My last key, and then, throw anything on the fire you want. For me, is just really those battles on the wall. I want to see this team play physical. I want to see them play ugly. They are a big, strong team. On paper, this is one of the biggest teams in the league. I want to see them play that way.
And yeah, and of course, I think that's kind of what this team is, right? It is supposed to be the Bill Armstrong, physical, big man, play against the boards. And I feel like a lot of that voice was kind of put out when Lawson Cross was named associate captain, right? Because it's Lawson Cross is a power forward. That is his job, to play the boards, to get to the middle, use his body, whatever he needs to do to get to the net. You want to be able to see that. You want to be able to see them play the corners and do what you need to do. And what better of a leader than to have your associate captain do exactly that.
I like it. I'm in. Let's do it.
But before we close things off, Tom, we've only got a couple minutes left on here. Let us get to what I always love to do. FanDuel picks of the game. I have the odds put up right up here. If you're watching on YouTube, Utah Hockey Club, they are 1.5 favorites, money line favorites as well, -172. Blackhawks at +142. Total points for the over-under is at 6.5.
This is well done. Well done, FanDuel. Because I think Utah wins. I think it is a 4-3 overtime win for Utah Hockey Club. I think that Bedard gets 2. I think Utah goes into overtime, and the winner is Dylan Guenther. So
I like it.
I see the over in this game. I see the over, and I think it's a Utah win in the OT.
Now, here's the question for you. Are you confident enough to give those points to Chicago. So on the spread on the puck line, that 1.5. You say I'm going to give it to them. Are you?
No, I think it's a 1-goal game.
All right. Yeah,
it's a 1-goal game.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So you're getting so it's going to be that close of a game. So which I think I can totally see. It's going to be a 1-goal game. There's going to be a lot of excitement. And again, who wouldn't love some free bonus hockey in your first inaugural game for those that are getting special inaugural swag?
That's right.
In tonight's game.
That's right. I'm excited for that. And you know what? Feel free on our socials. Drop pictures. If you're there, show us. If you're there, tag us. Let us know. Let's see the swag. What do you have? What are you looking for?
If you tag us, I will retweet. I will retweet anybody who tags us on the podcast page mainly. I mean, you can tag me too personally at Robyn_Leano. Tag the podcast at LO_NHL Utah. Give us your predictions and of course send us those pictures of where the views from your seats. Anything else you think that it might be the enjoyment you're having, maybe a video of all of the vibes in there. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to it. It's going to be absolutely crazy. So
let's see some of the predictions really quick from some of our fans. We got Kyle Smith right here saying 3-1 Utah. Gunther gets the first goal. Liam O'Brien gets in the fight. I wouldn't be surprised me if Liam O'Brien gets into a fight. That's his job. That's what he does. He's out there to start crap, and I love it.
That's right. Straw that stirs the drink right there. Spicy tuna.
We got 4-1 Utah. Connor Ingram gets the first star with 34 saves on 35 shots.
Okay, nice.
Not a bad one. We got 4-2 Utah. I like it. I could see that one. That's kind of right underneath the under. Gives enough points to Utah. Get a comfortable win. 3-2 Utah. Thank you, Drew, for that prediction. I think that's going to be a good one. I think we'll see what else do we got? 6-0.
I love it.
Going Homer fan. I love it. Absolutely pound them. Those are some great pictures. I love them. I really love them. And again, I encourage you, all of you fans, to interact with us as much as you can. We're going to be doing some post-game stuff as well, so be sure to come back with us as we have one more prediction coming in as we're getting ready to close things off. 4-2 Utah. Jersey gets the first goal with a sweet snipe from the blue line to start us off.
Nice.
I like it. I like it. We keep them coming. Like I said, we're on social media. Be free to interact with us. To our text club members, thanks for also for you guys if you joined us through the message I sent on the text club. We'll soon, as the season continues to go, give you guys priority access to questions on the show, on our post game show. So be sure to be a part of our text club if you've yet to already. Send a text to 801-760-9033, 801-760-9033 to be able to be a part of that. Exclusive content coming your way. We're gonna have some game notes. Tom's gonna put his gonna put on a lot of his expertise out there.
Tom's 2 cents.
Tom's 2 cents. Absolutely, gotta love it. It's going to be out there all on the Text Club, so you will definitely want to be a part of it as we kick off the season in just a few hours from now. Exciting times that we're here, but we're going to end things on this show. Thanks, everyone, for being a part of this special live pregame show, Utah Hockey Club versus the Chicago Blackhawks. If you like this show, don't forget to leave a review, leave us a comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your shows. YouTube, SiriusXM. We're ad-free on Amazon Music if you are a Prime subscriber. So be sure to get on that. It's a really nice little perk you get there. Social media at LO_NHL Utah. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. Tom Callahan is at Callahan on air. Interact with us.
Robyn,
go ahead, Tom.
Real quick, I just want to throw this out there. 2 little nuggets for you tonight. Liam O'Brien, 1 game shy of 200. So if he's in tonight, NHL game number 200 for Spicy Tuna. And Lawson Krause, 3 points shy of 200. So if Lawson's got a 3-point night in him, milestone.
Oh, would absolutely love to see that. But Tom Callahan's at Callahan on air. So you can once again interact with us, ask a question. We might interact right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode, and we'll see you guys later tonight.